just about 10 minutes past the top of the hour on this Monday morning. I'm Sarah Colvin, and live in studio, Town Manager Tom Lynch. Tom, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Did you enjoy that car show?
I did. It was really cool. I think we were down there for about 3 hours
Well,
walking up and down Main Street.
It's a huge commitment of time if you want to do the whole thing.
Yes.
But some of the cars were just spectacular.
They really were.
And the owners have such pride in the vehicle. There are the stories behind how they got it, why they chose that particular model, and it's just reminiscent of days gone by, if you will, things that are important in their lives.
That's right. So it was great to see all those cars and great to see so many people out on Main Street for sure. A beautiful weekend, a good day for the beach too, and I know that one of the things we have to keep an eye on here is when we're talking about the beaches is the wildlife, especially the piping plovers, and I know that they are nesting and they are hatching right now.
Well, I wasn't sure if you had gotten reports, and this is the type of thing that comes across my desk is Nina Coleman or Dan Horn will let me know what's going on with different aspects of town. And they at Dowses Beach, when they gave this update plover report, at Dowses Beach there are no birds there, and we're actually going to take the fence down. And in the past we have had fencing up there. At Calmus, there's monitoring needed during raking because there are 2 nests, one that's incubating and one that's hatched, and we do have terns that are nesting. At Craigville, there are 2 nests on adjacent property at the Beach Club and over at the CBA, and they're both incubating, so we've got to watch that during raking. Sandy Neck, they have 26 pairs of plovers. Wow. And 11 hatched, 8 predated, 7 incubating eggs, and the terns are nesting. So that's something that we watch and monitor regularly because we want to, protect this endangered species. But it's interesting to watch over the years how sometimes we've had extensive fencing over at Dowses, and this year there are no pairs there. So, but that's just an aside for those folks that are walking the beaches and wondering what's happening with the plover update. But
that's right. You do want to make sure too, if there are those protective fencing, to stay on the outside of the fence. Don't go in there and don't disturb the nests and the birds.
It was kind of a water weekend for me though, because I was able to attend on Saturday the annual meeting of the Wequaquet Lake Protective Association, and they meet annually, and it's always a well-attended meeting with a lot of good information.
Exactly, and the Wequaquet Lake is it's one of those things where you don't really see it a lot, but it is huge. It is a massive body of water right here and pretty much in the middle of town, and certainly making sure that stays protected is so important.
I saw somewhere it's over 600 acres, and there's a lot of interest in competing area, activities on the lake. Not the least of being that a lot of people like to live in that area.
Yes.
And so it's forced problems with phosphorus and nitrogen and other sorts of problems that all lakes and will have around the town. But they have one issue that's in particular, which is called a very invasive species called fanwort, and that's been introduced into the lake. And we did approve in this year's budget $100,000 for fanwort removal. There are 2 systems that they use for that. There's a suction harvesting procedure that they use, and then there's also a sonar application, but that's only going to be used in Bursa's Pond, which is off the lake, and because of the extent of the fanwort in that particular area. But the members heard from Dr. Kara Kurer, who was a woods hole scientist who's looked at the lake forest and looking at a long-term management plan, and it's something that we've tried to do through the budget anyway, is to try to take funding and do some comprehensive studies. So we've got a long-range look of what the condition of the lake will be, and what are the manageable steps that we can take to try to avoid the lake from dying, if you will. He indicated that while it was decades away, it was something that we really had to look at. And one thing I appreciated at this particular association meeting is Rob Gate was there from Conservation, Dan Horn and members of his staff from Marine Environmental Affairs. The chief was there. Eric Steinhilder came from the council, so they had a lot of representation there, and I had a chance to briefly address the group. And one thing that I stressed with them is that we really need stewards like this association to be committed to the lake and to be willing to serve on boards and commissions that will eventually come up with the solutions as to how we stop a lake from dying. Dr. Gail McGuire, who was there, serves in the Citizens Advisory Commission. She talked a bit about the fertilizer regulation that the council had a meeting on last week that we looked at with the Citizens Advisory Committee and Phil Boudreau. And that'll be coming up in the not too distant future to the council. The other thing that I saw during the question and answer period, a lot of questions about, all right, we understand the problem. This phosphorus is an issue, invasive species, you know, nitrogen loading. What are the solutions?
Right.
And there was a lot of, you know, could we put something into our septic systems that would, you know, stop phosphorus or other things from leaching into the lake? And so they want to do stuff, but a lot of it was managing it before it gets into the system. So I think that it's going to be a long-term educational system. You have people committed to that lake and that area, and you know, each year that I go, I see they've made more and more progress in terms of outreach and educational efforts. So it was a worthwhile Saturday morning.
Wonderful. And of course, Town Council was very efficient last week, made it through a big chunk of the operating budget. So where are we in the process, and what's to come?
Well, as you indicated in your news update, there are 3 items left for the operating budget. We've got libraries, we've got tourism and Lombard funds that are attached to one appropriation, and then the airport, of course, and that'll be the major item that comes up on the items that come up on Thursday. I also want viewers to know that while we talked a lot about the priorities that were set within public safety and education, Department of Public Works, we also have a variety of issues that you know, we have also been able to fund. With the libraries, we've got a 2.5% increase. This enables them to keep pace with inflation and also with in some of their operating costs, as well as they can avoid going to the state to apply for waivers for the grants that they get from the Library Commission. We've talked about performance management in the past, where we've funded $15,000 to keep an analyst coming down from the UMass Collins Center all through the coming year. Property management was discussed at the last budget hearing on Thursday, where I explained that we were reorganizing that system and that the assistant town manager would be taking direct management control over that. I transferred a position, property management position, into finance. A lot of the work that David Anthony now does with leasing and RFPs and all of that work that relates to property management happens there. So Mark is going to coordinate those individuals, and we also transferred some maintenance money from conservation into the DPW. They do a lot of the work for us, but a lot of it needs to be coordinated, and that's what we're going to make a stab at this year in terms of the reorganization plan. And then we still have waterways improvements that are going on, where we're going to continue our litter patrol boat, and then we also have some rate studies that we'll look at, because we set a lot of fees out there, and some of the departments already do rate setting and rate study fees, and we're going to expand that to include recreation and other areas. And with the HYCC, we've expanded their maintenance program. So there are lots of areas like that that come into the budget that need attention, that don't always get the attention when we're talking about the bigger programs as a rule.
That's right. Well, and again, Town Council will meet this Thursday, and hopefully wrap up the operating budget for fiscal 15. Good stuff. And then you just turn around and start working on fiscal 16 before we know it.
You got it. That's the way it works.
That's right. Time marches on. Well, Tom, thank you so much, as always, for joining us live in studio. Have a great day, and we'll check in with you again next week.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks so much. More to come on Barnstable This Morning. Going to talk with Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mary Chakowski, next. But first, let's